You're an agribusiness executive navigating an increasingly competitive market while trying to grow your company. Mergers and acquisitions are pitched as an accelerant to growth, but many M&A deals destroy more value than they create. Welcome to the Pacesetter Pod, where we explore and reveal the perspectives, insights, and approaches for successful mergers and acquisitions. Here's your host, the Integration Pacesetter, Joe Mosier.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Pacesetter Pod. As always, I am your host, Joe Mosier, founder and principal advisor of Mosier Consulting Group. If you are a leader of a small to middle market food or agribusiness firm and you're looking for an edge in executing strategy and M&A to profitably and grow your business, this show is for you. I'm really excited to have you listening in today, and I appreciate you being here. If you've been listening to any of the previous episodes of this podcast, you'll know that I spent a lot of time talking about value. The perceived value of a potential acquisition, the expected value articulated in an M&A business case, maybe the value destructive capacity of a poorly executed deal, the value realized from executing well in integration, and of course, value creation, and more specifically, what value is created by your M&A and your M&A integration, and who is that value created for. Today, I want to bring these notions of value together to help you create the underpinnings of a winning M&A integration plan. When you're doing these deals, you want an integration plan that's going to deliver against the objectives that were the basis of pursuing the deal in the first place. Otherwise, why are you doing it? You want an integration plan that allows you to realize the efficiencies, or realize the market access, or operational scale, or applying the new technology that's going to generate returns that are above and beyond the cost and effort of the transaction in the first place. And you want an integration strategy that's going to put the customer first and give them plenty of reasons to cheer on the deal and love doing business with you and the new entity that you're creating. But as you start to set the scope of your M&A integration plan, you're also wading into troubled waters. It is so easy at this stage to divorce the scope of your integration from the underlying value drivers that you're pursuing in the first place. And M&A integration can appear like a binary set of choices. We're going to integrate the new acquisition fully, or we're going to leave it as a standalone entity. And either of those, or perhaps neither of those options may be true. And the trick is understanding what level of integration is required to deliver the value desired. And if possible, what level of integration is required and nothing more. So to help you avoid this classic planning trap, today I'm going to talk with you about a key component of our integration planning process at the Mosier Consulting Group. And it's something we call the minimum viable integration, or the MVI. And today we're going to look at this from three different angles. We're going to talk about what you need to know to get started. We're going to cover what the minimum viable integration is and how to build yours. And finally, we're going to talk about what decisions are going to be required once you have your MVI. So I'm really excited to walk you through this. Let's jump in and get started. So what do you need to know to get started in this process? You cannot just set out to create your MVI. Conceptually, it may make sense. What is the minimum viable integration? What are the fewest things we need to do to get to value? But there are important things that you need to know in order to put this tool to good use. And these are the price of admission for a successful M&A integration plan. No ticket, no ride. So first, you need to know what benefits are expected by doing this transaction. And so for this, you're going to look back to the value drivers and the expected benefits that were defined in the deal thesis or your business case. And what I want you to do is I want you to write them down on a fresh sheet of paper in their simplest form. Some of the recent deals that I've been working on, I've seen things like we want to extend market access so we can cross-sell our products into the Southeast, where we are underrepresented, and we're going to generate XYZ incremental new revenue. Or another one was we're going to own the logistics into our distributors to improve stocks availability in regional distribution centers by X%. So in the first case, they were buying a competitor that was competing in a market where they're underrepresented, and they saw the opportunity to not just sell their products into that new market, but then also to be able to cross-sell the acquired company's products into their existing markets, generating new incremental revenue for the organization. Revenue that would not have been possible with the two entities operating in isolation. In the second case, The company was buying essentially a fleet to control the logistics and specifically control logistics into their distributors to ensure that when customers or dealers wanted to purchase their product, they had their hands on the scale to ensure that those stocks would be available in the regional DCs. So these need to be specific and measurable. So as you go back to your business case, if you find that the business case outlines the former, meaning it says we need market access to increase revenue or logistical control to improve availability, but that the targets are not set, then you're not ready. Go back to the deal team and get crisp targets from them. Similarly, as part of due diligence, if additional efficiency targets or synergy targets are being identified, get those on your piece of paper as well. You cannot design a successful integration plan if you don't know how success is measured. Second, you need to know the categorization of the deal that you're pursuing. And we do that through acquisition type. There are 9 different types of acquisitions. And if you need an introduction to these or a reminder, I'd encourage you to go back and check out episode 2, where we discuss these in more detail. And third and finally, you need to know what value the deal will create for your customers. Too many integration plans focus exclusively inward. They keep your most important stakeholder in the dark. They de emphasize the interests of the people upon whom your entire company relies, and that is the customer. If you want to avoid outsourcing complexity and uncertainty to your customer, and I promise you that you do, then you need to put your customer at the heart of your planning efforts. If this is a new concept to you, I'd also invite you to go back and listen to episode 3, which was dedicated to the topic of creating customer value and integration plan. It'll give you some great insights around how to define and articulate customer value and integration plan. Okay, so to recap what you need to know the expected benefits with targets from the deal thesis or the business case. You need to understand the categorization of your acquisition type, and you need to understand value created and enjoyed by your customers as a result of the deal. If you can answer these with both confidence that they're accurate and that they are shared by the balance of your executive or leadership team, then you're ready for the next step. The next step is defining and building your minimum viable integration, or MVI. Far too many M&A deals are notable not for the excessive wins and frictionless execution that they provide, but really for how much capital and energy they consume and how little they contribute, whether that is to profitability, efficiency, growth, etc. And integration plans are made stronger and more comprehensive the more perspectives they entail, but it's really easy in the drive for strength and breadth of your plan to overshoot. In our work with clients, we always advocate for broad perspectives and a wide lens when integration planning to ensure you get the best thinking in the room and on the table. But before you do that, you need to zoom in on what's absolutely critical before you pan back. Think about it this way. Integration planning is really all about reducing the time to value following an acquisition. And reducing the time to value, you're also trying to improve the underlying odds that you're going to hit your goals. A merger or an acquisition is inherently a disruptive force. It's a disruptive force that's going to offer a lot of potential opportunity, but it's also accompanied by 10,000 decisions that need to be made or tasks that need to be completed. And every single one of those is incremental to the existing demands that were in place before you did the deal. Incremental demands to the acquiring business and the acquired business. And you cannot set out to reduce the time to value if everything is in scope. It's just not possible. And so there'll be many opportunities to integrate parts of the business, parts of the organization that are going to be attractive for one reason or another, or to one person or another, but they're not all created equal. The minimum viable integration is not a proxy for your integration plan, but it's meant to set the minimum thresholds that you believe must be met in order to deliver value. So whether that value is financial or operational, commercial in nature, or customer oriented, we're trying to build the lean muscle mass now and then bulk up later. Or put another way, you're looking for addition through subtraction. Think of your MVI as a new set of deal objectives, but leaner and meaner. The MVI objectives are always going to be restatements of what you and your customers want from this deal in a way that makes them actionable in your plan. And I don't have any firm thresholds on how many MVI objectives are appropriate, but you'll generally find 4 to maybe 7 heavy hitters. And after the 7, they start to trail off from there in terms of relevance and materiality and impact. And again, you're looking for those core levers to pull that are going to drive deal value, customer value, and help you hit your goals.
Poorly executed mergers and acquisitions destroy more value than they create. They can set your company back years. To defend your firm's position in the marketplace, you need access to the leading practices that unlock the greater potential of your people, processes, and systems. If you are undertaking a company transformation or pursuing an acquisition as a vehicle to grow, set up a call with Joe by visiting www.moshercg.com.
So to make this easier, I'm going to share a couple of real-world examples to demonstrate why this is so important. The first was a business we were working with that was performing an acquisition that was really focused on access to new technology. And so the acquisition type was buying the know-how. Their MVI included a carve-out for product level integration. And so this put incorporating the new technology they were buying into the way that they developed, managed, and delivered their products. And that was a very high priority. So later on in the integration activities, IT, as could be expected, was struggling under the dual demands from both the accounting and finance function and the HR function to integrate those systems. Clearly, during any integration, integrated financial reporting, invoicing, payables, receivables, credit, this is going to be really important. And similarly, HR is going to want to have their systems integrated too for employee information management, for payroll, for benefit administration, for hiring, for performance management, et cetera. But since we had already established that the new tech integration to support the product delivery was an MVI objective, it was weighted accordingly. And when it came to trade-offs, that was an important lens. And I can tell you from experience that if that is not predestined or pre-designed, the functional systems will always win out because there's a pressing, immediate internal need to integrate them. And so in this case, you really ask yourself, what is more important? Do we want to have one system for collecting timesheets? Or do we want to have one system that integrates the new technology you just purchased as a means of accelerating your strategy? This is not to minimize the importance of a harmonized and integrated timesheet collection process for payroll. Absolutely important, absolutely an integration target, but perhaps not the first and not the most important when compared to an MVI objective. So here's another example. A company we were working with bought a retail operation in a new geography with the idea that they wanted to extend their footprint. They were going to improve their product portfolio, and of course, they were going to look for new cross-selling opportunities. One of the customer value drivers that they discovered from the company that they were acquiring was that they wanted them to preserve the existing CRM database. So the acquired company was a trusted local brand that had carefully documented all sorts of valuable notes on customer buying history, product performance of the products they were buying, their crop rotation practices over many years. And the customers were excited to know that the same retailer that they always used was going to have more to offer. So the customers themselves were really excited to say, okay, I've had this trusted retailer, and now through this acquisition, through this consolidation, I'm going to have the same location, but I'm going to have a wider suite of products that I can access. But what the business failed to account for was the richness of that CRM data and how often the customers would ask questions about it on the sales floor. So there were times where customers, because they had so much confidence in the information that was stored by the legacy company that was acquired, that they were sometimes relying upon that CRM for historical reference on their own business. And during the integration, a new point of sale system was implemented, which went fine, but the CRM access was removed from the floor terminals of the retail shop and was restricted to in-field sales reps. And so what this did is it effectively cut off one of the value-added service offerings that customers wanted. And this happened because integration was focused inward and the focus on reducing the number of terminals with server access and segmenting the floor sales staff from the info they needed to meet the customer's expectations. And had we done a better job with the MVI, looking at what the customers wanted, we would have saved significant time, money, and blowback. So now hopefully you're equipped with a targeted outline of what the minimum viable integration requirements are for you and your deal to meet your needs, whether those needs are financial, operational, customer, commercial, etc. So what now? So now it's decision time. It's time to begin identifying what will be integrated and what will not be, or perhaps what is a phase one early integration priority and what is going to perhaps be slated for a phase two effort to come later. So look at your MVI objectives and align on a team and ask yourselves what level of integration is necessary to satisfy our goals. Once you have that, you can assess what is not in the integration plan and build it in if you believe the reward justifies the effort. But you'll also have the knowledge that you know your MVI outline and what counts the most. And so I'm definitely not advocating for no integration beyond your MVI objectives. This is really about a mindset shift. So rather than assuming full integration is the plan and arguing why something should be out of scope, we start with the MVI as the minimum requirements and then hear arguments for why other areas need to be added. And that's the big difference here. The presumption is of out of scope versus in scope, and that's critical. Non-MVI areas are presumed out of scope until proven necessary. Also remember that integrations exist along a spectrum. This is not a binary set of options, a fully integrated or fully standalone that I'd mentioned earlier. I've seen integrations where the acquired company was wholly consumed into the surviving entity, and it wasn't too long before a new customer supplier coming in would be really hard pressed to be able to actually identify any artifacts suggesting that they had once been two separate businesses. But I've also seen integrations where everything was integrated except for the brand of the acquired company. And that brand carried such strong equity in the marketplace that it became the predominant brand of the newly combined company, even though all the underlying processes in the background changed. Some clients I've even seen pursue what I call integration light strategies, where maybe select back office functions and technologies that run financials or inventory, production, position management, or payroll, which we used earlier as an example. Those systems are on integrated platforms, but to the outside world, they operate with limited changes. So the point here is that integrations are not created equal, and those most successful ones are rooted in a firm understanding of the multiple inputs that we discussed today that really build up to your MVI, and then additional areas are added on to the MVI only when the value justifies the effort. Again, it's really a mindset shift. So let's recap what we talked about today. You cannot be successful in integration planning if you don't know why you're doing the deal, if you don't know what benefits you're expecting, and if you don't know what your customers expect. You're going to struggle if you start this process looking for the broadest and most comprehensive integration possible. And not only will you suffocate the business under the weight of the plan, but you may miss those critical value drivers that you and your customers expect. So start small and build pragmatically from there. And finally, to get the most for your effort, you need to make an explicit decision on where on the spectrum your integration falls. And this should be driven by a clear-eyed view on what's going to delight your customers, what's going to deliver results, and not just what is most comfortable to the functional leaders in the business or what feels like the best path by beating all of the complexity out of the system and integrating everything you see. Just be mindful not to default to 100% integration everywhere all at once. The final thing I'll leave you with here is that the MVI is a powerful tool. We've seen it work wonders in setting up well-scoped, well-defined, incredibly focused, and value-added M&A integrations. But it's not only for M&A integrations. You can apply the same process and mindset to any other strategic initiative that you're undertaking, and you likely see better results. And of course, if you get stuck, don't hesitate to reach out and contact us and get the help you need. We'd be more than happy to talk you through what you might be experiencing and seeing. So now you have your MVI. And this MVI, or the minimum viable integration, translates your business goals and customer needs into your integration objectives. And I hope you'll join us next time for a discussion of effective M&A governance. And we're going to talk about the three-legged stool approach to bringing the most effective but pragmatic oversight to your M&A integration activities. We're going to show you what good oversight looks like and talk about the benefits you can expect from getting it right. So that's all for this episode of the Pacesetter Pod. To stay current on the latest in food and ag integration, I invite you to follow me, Joe Mosier, and the Mosier Consulting Group on LinkedIn, where we regularly post ideas, observations, and reflections to help you win at executing strategy and M&A in your business. And of course, please hit subscribe on your podcast player to ensure you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes. Thank you as always for listening, and I hope you have a safe day.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.